สวัสดีค่ะ Welcome to Hot Thai Kitchen. Today we are making little appetizers that I used to get all the time from the street side vendors, and it's called ขนมปังหน้าหมู ขนมปัง is bread and หน้าหมู means pork topping. So they're little toasties with this really yummy, flavorful ground pork mixture on top. Oh, it's so good. But traditionally, we deep fry these and then the bread absorbs so much oil and I'll have two and then I'm done. So I developed this recipe that uses baking instead of frying, and it is so much better. I actually cannot stop eating these. So let's get started. So for this recipe, you want white sandwich bread, okay? This is not the time for your 12 grain ancient sprouted whole wheat, all that stuff. It's not gonna be as good, trust me. So I'm going to trim off the crust. I actually use the crust to make little snacks for myself. I'll share the recipe with you one day. It's really good. It's something my mom used to do. And sometimes at some Asian bakeries, you can get the bread already with the crust already taken off. In Thailand, I know you can get it. So you can just get those. And then with these, I'm going to brush just lightly a little bit of oil on top. Any neutral flavored oil. So I'm just using canola oil. Sometimes I use avocado oil, which is a new thing I started using. And now I'm gonna cut these into 4 squares. Line these up, oil side down, okay? So I'm gonna just flip all of them over. I mean, if you really wanna go low fat, you don't have to put the oil on. But I find that if you don't, it's a bit dry and it doesn't brown as nicely. So now I'm gonna give you an option. If you want your toast to at the end be completely crispy, you wanna bake these at 250 degrees for 10 minutes to just completely dry them out and they'll become sort of like crackers. Okay, but if you want it crispy on the outside, soft on the inside, just leave the bread as is, it'll be fine. So I like it sort of soft on the inside, so I'm gonna leave them. And now we're gonna make the pork filling. So I'm gonna start with what I like to call the Thai mirepoix. Garlic, white peppercorns, and cilantro roots, okay? And we're gonna pound all of these up into a paste. But the cilantro roots, I'm gonna just quickly chop them first. Just roughly chop. And if you don't have cilantro roots, you can also add cilantro stems. Pound it up. You want to get it quite fine, especially if you're using cilantro roots. They can be a little fibrous. And now I'm going to use my mortar as a mixing bowl. So I'm going to mix everything in here. So I'm going to add my ground pork and smoosh that. So once that's sort of mixed up, I'm going to go in with the seasoning, which is some soy sauce. Give that a smoosh, scrape down the sides a little. A little bit of sugar. Now with the sugar, I only add it if the bread isn't sweet. Sometimes when you buy sandwich bread, especially from an Asian bakery, the bread itself is quite sweet. So taste the bread first. If it's pretty neutral, add the sugar. If the bread is already sweet, skip the sugar, okay? And also I'm gonna add half an egg. So just beat up an egg and split it in half. And it's just gonna help bind everything together. Now you're just gonna mix. And that's it. That's the filling right there. By the way, if this is your first time making it, you can always cook up a little bit in the microwave or on a skillet to check to see if you want it, a little saltier, and adjust the filling like that as well. But this is pretty good for me. So I'm just gonna take about a teaspoonful and put it on the toast. And see, even this is too much. So I'm gonna take a little bit off. And you just want a thin layer. The bread is quite delicate, so you don't want the pork to overwhelm the toast. And I like to get it sort of a circle-ish because I think it's pretty, but you can just completely cover the toast if you want. And that's it. And then you just repeat until it's all over. So this recipe actually makes more than what you see, but I just don't have patience for it right now. So there's more filling left. So I'm going to brush all of these, just again, very lightly with oil. And the reason is the oven is a dry heat environment. If you don't put any oil at all, the pork will dry out more. So this just sort of protects the pork a little bit. And when you brush, I also just try to get the edge of the exposed bread, and that'll help it brown. And then as a garnish and also a little added aroma, I'm gonna sprinkle some toasted white sesame seeds. And I just put them in sort of a little shaker bottle like this so it's easy to just go boop, just like that. Look how cute. And you can put on as much or as little as you like, really. I don't know, this is not necessary, but it just makes me feel better if I pat the sesame seeds down a little bit with my fingers just to make sure they stick and don't fall off. All right, and now this is gonna go into a 375-degree Fahrenheit oven for 8 to 10 minutes. Okay, so after about 10 minutes, this is what they look like, but what I want at this point is to brown the top more so it's more beautiful. But I don't want to keep baking it because that's just going to keep drying out everything. So I'm just going to put it on broil for just like literally a few seconds that it'll take to get the top a little bit more brown. So I'm going to now change to broil high, thank you, and put this back in. Whew, it's hot. That is what I am looking for. So the edges of the toast is nice and brown. And depending on your broilers, like I have to move it around a little bit because there's hot spots. So that way it's all even. And then if you're wondering, do you have to move the rack up so it's closer to the element? I don't bother with it because I find that it is hot enough. And if it gets too close, then it burns even quicker and then just catches you off guard. So I'm gonna let this cool just a little bit. You still want to serve this quite warm, but before we put our cilantro garnish on, if it's piping hot, it'll just wilt the garnish right away. So just a second. To garnish these, little juliennes of bell peppers and also a little leaf of cilantro. Okay, on the street, they don't garnish it with anything. You just eat it just like that. But you know, if you're gonna present it to some guests, a little red and a little green is always nice. And when you serve it, just a few pieces on a white plate is always nice. And what I've got over here is what we call attat. And it's just a quick pickle. And I've shown you how to do this before in my pork satay video. It's the exact same thing. It's super easy. I'll include it in the written recipe, or you can check out my pork satay video as well. I'm so hungry. I'm gonna have one. I'm gonna put just a little piece of the cucumber pickle on top because it really does go well together. And I'm gonna do it in one bite. I don't know if you can hear how crunchy that bread is. It's crunchy on the outside, but still sort of tender on the inside. The pork is really flavorful. I added quite a bit of white pepper so I can feel a little bit of a heat in the back of my throat. Fresh crunchiness from the cucumber balances everything out. Wow, and they're so easy to eat too, so you're gonna have a hard time eating just one, trust me. And oh, if you wanna make this in advance, you can, and then you can, but you have to reheat it. You definitely wanna serve this hot. You don't wanna let it sit, you know, for half an hour before people get there, okay? So the recipe, as always, is on hotthaikitchen.com. When you make this, send me a photo on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And if you haven't subscribed to the show, please do so right here, and I will see you next time for your next delicious Thai meal. So it's these little toasties topped with a really flavorful pork pilling. So it's this little toasties with really I cannot say the word flavorful right now.